Bulavinaka, Johan Sonsson, Iceland's Special Envoy on Ocean Affairs, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to travel to your part of the world and to speak to you on a subject that is of vital interest to Pacific Island people. I am most grateful to the organizers of the Arctic Circle Assembly and Conservation International for this opportunity. Fisheries and fish are part of the rich fabric of life in Fiji and in the entire Pacific Island region. In particular, fish plays a vital role in local food security and creating opportunities to earn income. Fish also underpins economic development in many Pacific Island countries. It is a large subject, and I'm delighted to share this session with Honorable Dalton from Niue. I will use my time to talk about how to maintain the important contributions of small-scale fisheries to food security and livelihoods in the face of climate change. The Honourable Minister from Niue will speak to you about the impacts of climate change on tuna. As you can see from this map, the land masses of most Pacific Island countries and territories are small, but our ocean jurisdictions are large. Our location in the middle of the Pacific Ocean makes us vulnerable to the forces of nature and to the effects of climate change. My country is certainly no exception. In 2016, Cyclone Winston, the strongest Category 5 cyclone recorded in the Pacific so far, hit Fiji. This intense natural disaster killed 44 people, destroyed or damaged 40,000 homes, and dislocated the lives of 350,000 people and at a cost of $1.4 billion. But our vulnerability to climate change and the vulnerability of many other Pacific countries is not only related to the higher risk to infrastructure posed by cyclones. We are exposed to the effects of climate change in many other ways, including the damage that ocean warming and ocean acidification is causing to the coral reefs that have traditionally provided most of the fish for our food security. To put this particular aspect of vulnerability into context, I would like to describe just how important fish is to the nutrition of the Pacific people. A comprehensive study by the Public Health Division of the Pacific Community recommended that per capita fish consumption in our region should be at least twice the global average due to the scarcity of other sources of animal protein. The good news is that the same study shows that fish consumption in many Pacific countries was typically often 2 to 5 times the global average, and that fish provided 50 to 90% dietary animal protein for coastal communities. However, this favorable situation is changing due to rapid population growth. In many Pacific Island countries, a gap in fish supply is emerging between how much fish Pacific Island people should eat for good nutrition and the sustainable harvest of fish from coral reefs. The degradation of coral reefs due to climate change is expected to make a gap in fish supply even wider because the reefs will no longer produce as many fish. There are 2 reasons for this. First, the current rate of ocean warming is expected to reduce live coral cover by 70 to 90% by 2050, compared to today's level due to the more frequent coral bleaching and ocean acidification. Second, the health of coral reef has a strong influence on the number of fish they can support. The degradation of coral reef alone is estimated to reduce coastal fish production by at least 20% by 2050. Our dependence on fisheries for food security means that we simply have to find a way to adapt. We are looking for win-win approaches that address the need to increase supply of fish for our growing populations and that can also build resilience to climate change. We have found two promising solutions to fill the gap in fish supply. One based on using the rich tuna resources of the Pacific Island region and the other on aquaculture. The fisheries specialists in the Pacific community have optimized the use of near-shore fish aggregated devices, commonly called FEDs, to improve access to tuna for small-scale fishers in coastal communities. FEDs are based on observations that large pelagic fish like tuna congregate around logs and other objects floating in the sea, and that better catches can be made near these objects. FEDs can be thought as fabricated floating objects. When FEDs are anchored close to the coast, they attract tuna and make these large fish easier for coastal communities to catch. FEDs are a win-win adaptation for food security because they provide more fish now to meet the needs of growing populations and will provide an alternative source of fish as coral reefs continue to be degraded by climate change. As you will hear from Honorable Dalton, the distribution of tuna is also expected to be affected by climate change. However, there is still expected to be ample tuna for local food security in most Pacific Island countries in the decades to come. Throughout tropical developing countries, the farming of tilapia is proving to be a simple way to produce nutritious food. For many years, Fiji has been developing this small pond aquaculture. It's a practical way of producing more fish by growing population now and will be favored by the higher level of rainfall and warmer temperature expected to occur as the climate changes. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your indulgence.